Get ready for an important episode. We're talking about how to quiet that constant mental chatter and truly connect with your heart. Plus, we've got some game-changing tips on self-awareness, dealing with difficult personalities, and discovering hidden trauma. As we continue to transition seasons and discuss the importance of quality supplements, I wanted to share a special offer from my favorite supplement company, Seeking Health. You can get 10% off your entire order at Seeking Health by going to the link at my website, natalietysdal.com/favorites. It's a great opportunity to try their high-end quality products and experience the benefits for yourself. Seeking Health offers a wide range of supplements designed to support your body's natural processes. Whether you're looking to optimize your digestion, boost your energy, or improve your mental clarity, they have something for everyone. One of the things I love about Seeking Health is their commitment to quality. Their products are GMO-free, backed by a 60-day money-back guarantee, and formulated with pure, scientifically backed ingredients. My family uses them. Remember, Seeking Health supplements are not intended to diagnose, treat, or cure any diseases. They're designed to support your body's natural healing processes. So if you're ready to take your health to the next level, be sure to check out natalietysdal.com/favorites. Let's embrace prevention, support our well-being, and maximize our body's healing potential. Hey friends, it's Natalie here. Welcome back to the podcast. Today we're diving into part 2 of my conversation with Candice Thomas. And if you missed last week, I suggest that you go back and you take a listen to that before you start today. We're talking about self-compassion, self-awareness, and how all of that plays into better relationships. You know how our minds are always racing with thoughts? Well, maybe you don't, but I sure do. Candice shares an amazing technique to calm what's called that mental chatter. Also, we're going to talk about handling difficult people in our lives and the importance of truly understanding other people. Oh, and don't forget, hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode. And if you haven't already, sign up for my weekly newsletter at natalietysdal.com for more tips and always lots of insight. Let's get started today. So I want to now move on to, what do we do about it? How can we help ourselves?
Yes.
Especially for someone who maybe they haven't taken the test.
Right.
I know you have tips outside of that. And it's a great thing for anybody to do, obviously.
Yeah.
But what tips do you have for people to move past those hardwired things and to help themselves communicate with people better?
Yeah.
Help themselves, not hold themselves back, and live a happier life.
It's such a great question, a very important question. So the number one thing for us to start realizing is that mental chatter that we hear in our mind all day, every day, that is ego. The ego is the primal persona. It talks to us in the mind. So as long as we're allowing all of that mental chatter to go on, we're pretty owned by our personality type. It's the one telling us what to think about and what thoughts to have and what feelings to have. So there's an alternative, which is to actually focus your attention on your chest, on your heart. So you literally, you picture if you had a ball inside your mind, an orb that represented all those thoughts that were chattering, sink it down into the heart, bring it down into the chest, and sort of sense yourself holding energy in the chest. And this immediately silences the mind. When you're in the chest, our higher self, our soul, speaks to us through the heart, not in the mind. It's how we feel instead of what we think. And by practicing sitting there, just while you're driving, just while you're doing dishes or the laundry, just notice, put your attention on your chest. You can't think thoughts while you're doing that, and so then you're just being. And it's when you're just being, your mind is quiet, your body is calm, you're sitting in the heart, that's when your intuition starts to talk to you. That's when you start to get hits, good ideas, a new insight about something. It's holding you connected to your higher self. And you start making different choices and having different responses to your stressors when you're not listening to the chatter, when you're still and calm you make different choices. And they're always positive choices when they're coming from the heart.
That's really hard. I know you said you got the orb, you pull it down, and I'm thinking, okay, I can do that. But when your mind is spinning, I call it racing.
Right.
It's just racing with conversations and thoughts and all of that.
Yeah.
Give me more of how you really do that. Because
Okay.
those racing thoughts don't just easily go down.
Correct. Which is why we have to practice it over and over again. And it's best to practice when there's nothing going on. Because when you're in the middle of a shitstorm, excuse my language, that is not the time to practice for the first time getting out of your, So that's
true of
why,
everything in life. Like,
right. So that is why we're practicing in our downtime. But there is a very simple technique that I call the sway, which sort of shakes you out of that loop that you're in. So the sway is literally, if you're seated, you're going to move left to right with your shoulders kind of leading. You're swaying left to right, and you want the back, the spine to kind of make an S shape. You really want a lot of movement all the way down to the sacrum while holding your attention in your chest. So when I'm moving my body side to side and I'm holding my thoughts in my chest, I can't think about anything. Also, I'm getting my body to relax because I'm immediately noticing, oh, my hips are tight, my neck is tight, my jaw is tight. So I'm going to start softening and relaxing that, which is releasing your resistance to what's going on around you. When we're bracing and clenching and gritting the teeth, we're resisting our world, right? We're saying, no, I don't like this. This is all stressful. So we want to soften all of that. We want to just become totally calm. So we let the body soften with this sway. I'm quieting the mind, and this is calming down my nervous system. It's crazy how effective this is to just, I put on some music that has like a tempo, so you can go back and forth, and you just need a minute or two of doing this. And
maybe go, if you're at school, or something at work, maybe go to the bathroom. And
right. Maybe you go sit in your car for a minute by yourself. Yes, you need some privacy
I've seen people do this, by the way. Tell me if it's the same thing, with their feet up against a wall. Have you seen
I haven't. No.
And I wondered if that's what it was. It's calming your nervous system.
Yeah, it's just a self-soothing technique, but it calms the mind and the body and the nervous system all at the same time. So when you're very, very stressed and overwhelmed, and often our mind isn't really thinking that well in those circumstances anyway. So to just sort of notice, I'm overwhelmed, I'm kind of freaking out, let me stick a pin in this, I'm just going to sit here and sway for a minute. You recover yourself. You're kind of back to center. It's amazingly helpful.
Okay, I want everybody to try that, even if they think it's silly. Try it when you're not in that stress mode.
Right.
Okay, so that's great. Here's another question I think will apply to a lot of people, and that is, what if we can all benefit from this. We can all learn, know ourselves, know how we communicate, but what if it's someone else? Mm-hmm. What if it's your boss, or your coworker, your child, your spouse, that is, you think, the difficult one,
mm-hmm.
and they're not self-aware. They have absolutely no idea what their personality.
Mm-hmm.
How do you approach that?
Yeah. It's a really important question because it's pretty common, right? That you might be exploring self-awareness, but nobody around you is, right? So this comes down to acceptance and love, that everybody is on a journey. Without knowing personality types, you kind of assume everybody knows what being a good person is, or everybody knows the right way to do this. And you don't really realize, oh, it's just me. These are just my beliefs. And actually other people are wired totally different than me, and they don't hold the same values, and they wouldn't agree that this is how you should behave, right? So just even knowing about the types allows you to soften your position that I'm right and you're wrong. You're maybe willing to consider that their perspective also has some validity. But let's be honest, some people really act out a lot. So, but if you're sitting in your heart, you're not having mental chatter about how you're right and they're wrong, and you're good and they're bad. You are just observing the situation instead of buying into this opposing positions. You can start asking more questions instead of just telling somebody you're doing it wrong and you should be doing it this way. you can start to say, now, why do you think about it like that? Where, my perspective is this, but you seem to have this belief. Tell me more about that. And when you're not coming from a place of judgment, when it's more like you're allowed to be who you are and maybe you have a perspective I haven't considered, that's lowering the tension in the room, right? You're not in opposition to each other anymore. You're presenting the willingness to hear their perspective. You're going to get a way more productive conversation that way, that even if you don't share beliefs at the end, there still has not been an argument, and then there might be room for negotiation where you say, okay, I hear you. You think chores are bad and wrong. I think that they're the most important part in life. Can we coexist? Would you be willing to do this chore before we leave at 2:00? Because I really like to come home to a clean house. Instead of, you're such a jerk. How come you never? Why do you always? Instead of coming in with an attack, you're more saying, I understand your perspective might also have some validity, and perhaps there's a way we could make this work together.
Yeah, that's so good. One of the best pieces of advice, it goes along these lines that I remember receiving, I've probably mentioned it over the years, is to really aim to understand versus to be understood.
Yes.
Like to really try to understand the person, hear them out all the way until they're not talking anymore.
Yeah.
Then your perspective, it might change, but then hopefully they'll see you did that and want to do the same.
Yeah, it's really true because as we were talking about before, most people are not self-aware at all. And they might be in the middle of taking a position and asserting without really ever examining, why do I believe this? Is this really my truth? Like, I'm just sure that I need to have all the control right now, but actually maybe that's not true, and so by somebody asking me about, well, why do you feel that way? And why are you saying that? I might realize I don't actually know why I guess it's because of that thing that happened when I was 6. And so you actually are maybe helping them have some self-awareness that they were lacking just by asking them, why do you hold the position that you do? They might realize, yeah, maybe I don't need to always be this. Maybe this is how I always did it because of what happened when I was a kid. So you never know. But when you come at it without judgment and more open-hearted, willing to consider they might have a valid perspective, it plays out in a much more positive way.
How often do you think people are unaware of the trauma that caused this shadow behavior? I mean, that it comes out later. It's like, oh, I did have that happen. Never occurred to me. Is that a common thing? I hear that more and more from adults. I'm in my 50s, and I hear from people that go, I thought I had an okay childhood, but there was that thing I thought I dealt with. Is that common?
So common. So common. Everybody thinks that because I get up and go to my job every day and my house is clean and I buy groceries, like I'm functional, I'm doing great, everything's fine. I don't need to examine my pain from my childhood. But we just really can't see how much of that is actually fueling the choices that we're making now. I would say the larger percentage are not self-aware about how much pain they're holding. It's a lot, and we're afraid to feel it, but it's actually being willing to feel it that releases it.
Oh, that's so true. I just had a conversation with someone the other day on vulnerability, and like when you can really people sometimes think they're vulnerable, but when you can really be vulnerable and say that hurt, that sucked, that whatever, and here's how but some people they don't even talk about it.
Right.
And the power of vulnerability.
Correct. And talking about real feelings, so there's a difference between true feelings words and what are called judging words. So real feelings words are very simple words like children use. I feel sad. I feel mad. That hurt my feelings. That I'm embarrassed. Like they're real simple words. But judging words are versions of that, but have some kind of accusation built in that make me feel safer. So for example, if I said, I felt so embarrassed versus I felt so humiliated. Humiliated, I'm telling you, you did something to me that was bad, right? You attacked me and now I'm humiliated. Versus I'm just sitting in my feeling of embarrassment and it's not anybody's fault. I'm just feeling this. So true vulnerability is admitting those simple feelings. I feel really hurt. I feel really angry. I feel deeply ashamed. Those are the hardest ones to say. And it's much more comfortable to use where we say, I feel like, right? I feel like you're so arrogant. Okay, well, that's not a feeling. That's a thought, right? I feel like you're so selfish. That's not a feeling. I feel like she's so jealous of me. These are thoughts, right? Feelings, they don't have a blame component. I'm just being with my own feelings.
What is and people can look this up. If you're not sure what these words are, you just gave us several.
Yeah.
Sad, mad, hurt.
Yeah.
Those things. But there's a chart of these feelings.
Yeah. It's from nonviolent communication.
Yeah. And look it up.
Yeah.
If you're wondering, like, I don't know how to identify those, look up feeling chart or feeling.
Right.
Because it's really helpful. I've used this with my kids.
Yeah.
They can't vocalize how they feel, but they've shut down.
Right.
And you bring it out and you say, what of these are you feeling?
Yeah.
So that they can read through them and go, oh, I am feeling embarrassed or sad.
Right.
Or lonely.
Yeah.
There are many. I might not be getting them all
right.
But that's powerful.
It is. People need help identifying their feelings. And there are certain types who are more disconnected than others to tuning into themselves. They're more plugged into external things. And when you give them the opportunity to talk about their feelings, they don't know what to say. They don't know. Yeah. They can't even get there. And so you're right. Those charts where say, check out the mad section. See if any of these words about anger might fit, or check out this sad section here, you might want to consider, they need some help even finding the words for how they feel.
Yeah. Yeah. So if there's someone listening thinking, I need to do this test so that I can start down this road. We've given a lot of ideas, even if you haven't taken them, but to go one step further.
Yeah.
What do you recommend for people?
Well, please go to the website, yourvitalitypersonality.com, and there is a free quiz there that will tell you your type. And then my book has just come out. So if you want to take a deeper dive into how you are hardwired, the book is also called Your Vitality Personality.
Oh, wonderful. And I'll put that link in there too.
Thank you.
Anyone who wants the book. That's such a good way to really be in tune as well. Like I've gotten into a practice of getting up in the morning and I do my devotion and like something that just furthers my life.
Yeah.
And furthers myself. That is learning about other people. And your book would be a great one.
Great. To
be able to do that.
Thank you.
So, yeah. Okay. Well, I'll put links in for anyone who's interested. And Candice, it's really been a pleasure. Thank you for the time.
Thank you so much for your great questions.